Good afternoon, Vikings. It's another great day to be great. Welcome back to another edition of the Quarantine Chronicles here with Mr. Brown, discussing U.S. history as we move forward with the rest of our school year. I've been noticing that the videos are getting a little more long than I've been wanting to keep them. So we're going to jump right into it. We're talking about the Industrial Revolution. Yesterday we talked about factories and factory conditions. Today we're going to talk about labor unions that came from these factories and these different factory conditions that they were trying to combat. We're also going to talk about some inventions that came forth during the Industrial Revolution. All right, so labor unions. So labor unions were groups of workers who were all working in the same job. That were trying to unite in order to improve their working conditions. One of the ways that these labor unions tried to be effective were by the use of strikes. The reason why you form a labor union is because if I'm sitting here advocating for my rights all I want, but there are 100 of us working in this factory, me as one person coming forward and saying, yo, I don't think that, I think that this is wrong, this could be changed, this could be changed, or I'm going to quit. My boss is going to say, "Oh, cool, okay, cool, you can quit," because it's only one of me. He has 99 others, and it's easy to replace just one worker. Whereas if we all form ourselves into a union, or at least most of us form ourselves into a union, out of the 100 of us, if all 100 of us go to our boss and say, "Yo, we're not working uh, unless you change this, this, and this," then as a united front, they were more effective. So that's what kind of influenced the creation of labor unions, strength in numbers. If unions' demands weren't met, then they would simply strike, which is to refuse to work. Now, I say simply strike, but a strike is not simple at all. Um, when you strike, then you're not working, so you're not getting paid. So it takes some dedication. It takes uh, some gall to step out and participate in a union strike. But the thought was, if all of us stop working, yeah, we're missing checks, but our company is not being productive. Hence, they should probably meet our demands, and then we can get back to work, and our company can start producing goods and making money again. And hopefully, this thought would influence factory owners into meeting the demands of the strikers. Here's an image of some women striking for better working conditions in the 8-hour workday. Um, some of the children, some of the people that we've been discussing in these factories have been working 14-hour days, and it doesn't leave a whole lot of time to rest and be with your families. So one of the things that one of the better working conditions that striking workers, union workers were looking for was a shorter work day so they can have more time to do different things during the day. It's another group of women. We'll see a man here at the forefront, but women all around, along with other men, striking for better working conditions. So um, there were these individuals that we call scabs. Um, if a union or if a factory's workers had decided to go on strike, that factory owner would then try to hire these people to come in and do the work uh, in place of these striking workers. Those people that came in to do the work for these striking workers were called scabs. Think about a scab that you would have on your skin. It's there to stop the bleeding, stop you from bleeding out of a wound that you might have. Well, these striking workers are the wound, and the bleeding for the company is the fact that they're not making any money because their workers are not working and producing any goods to be sold. So you would hire a scab to come in and stop the bleeding or to do the work so that the company could stop bleeding funds and start making money again. So you see some of these union workers get their hands on a scab that's trying to go in and work the job that they are supposed to be doing if they weren't striking. Um, Why do I need to beat up a scab? Well, if it's easy for a factory owner to go out and hire somebody to do my job, then that makes my strike ineffective, uh, because the company is still making money even without my presence. Me striking is supposed to tell the company that, yo, you need my presence in order to make money, so you need to meet my demands. So if somebody comes in and tries to undercut you by working a job that you're no longer working, then that makes your strike ineffective. So factory owners would hire security forces, police forces to protect scabs going to work. We still see strikes today. Um, this is a strike outside of Macy's. Even Hollywood, nobody is safe. Even in the early 2000s, we had a writer strike, and we didn't have a whole lot of new scripted TV shows. Interestingly enough, this is where shows like Survivor, shows like um, the MTV Real World, these reality shows started to get popular because reality shows didn't need a script. They didn't need somebody to write the material. When the Writers Guild of America and the television and movie writers went on strike, reality shows got big. So that's just to show you that uh, all works of life, all ways of labor are able to go on strike, even Hollywood writers. Um, that's pretty much what I have on labor unions. But again, think about the benefit of a union. Think about the benefit of doing something in numbers versus just trying to attack something by yourself. Think about you guys in the classroom. It's one of me, and I'm trying to get you to do my work. Well, if all of us say, "Yo, we," not that you're not going to do it, because like I tell you guys all the time, I can give you all an F. But if you come to me as a united force and say, Mr. Brown, we would prefer that our grade be based off of this, or we would prefer that instead of us having a multiple choice test, we would rather just come up with a class skit, then it works better if you guys come as a united force versus if, excuse me, if one out of the 30 of you come to me saying, yo, I want to do this instead of doing this. I'm going to tell you, yo, you got to do what everybody else is doing. If everybody else wants to do the same thing that you're doing, then that invalidates my argument. So there's benefit to unions. Um, Again, almost all jobs have unions. We have a teacher union. There's a pilots union. The even in professional sports, the NBA players union, the NFL players association, the MLB. They all ways of life have unions, and that's to protect their rights, so that their bosses and so that these employers can't level unfair working conditions on the worker. So now let's chat about some inventions, which I think is I think the inventions are pretty interesting. Trying to get my screen up. There we are. All right, so American progress. We've seen this image a few times. Remember that these some of these inventions that we see in here, uh, some of the inventions that we'll see in this slideshow actually impact America's progress across uh, the globe or across North America. First invention we're going to talk about is the telegraph. The telegraph was invented by a man by the name of Samuel Morse. It allowed messages to be sent and received over long distances, and it connected the East to the expanding West. Remember that we're spreading across with manifest destiny. So it allows for communication to be from the East Coast, where we have most people, to the West Coast, where we are settling and growing our nation. These messages were sent in codes known as Morse code. Don't know what Morse code is? Take a moment to look it up. This invention, the other day I had a daily poll question, which invention was the most important? And a lot of us chose the steam engine, which is hard to beat. Led to production of different vehicles that could travel faster and that can carry more people. But the telegraph is also another one that's hard to beat because it led to the telephone, it led to the cell phone being created, it led to the computer being created. And now cell phone and computer is pretty much the same thing. You carry it all in your pocket. Next, we'll talk about the spinning jenny. It's invented by a man by the name of James Hargreaves. It spun 8 threads of cotton into one piece of yarn, and this greatly sped up the production of yarn and clothing in the world. Not everybody liked this invention. Think about the people whose job it was to make yarn out of cotton in the first place. And you can think about this with all of these different machines that we'll look at. Since there's a machine doing this, well, how was this job getting done before? And now what happens to the people who used to do this job before this machine was able to take it over? Pasteurization, you'll see some milk cartons. Pasteurization is all about the process of making milk drinkable or juices drinkable and increasing the shelf life of those beverages. So this is the process of heating a liquid to kill harmful bacteria. It was invented by a man by the name of Louis Pasteur. He was a scientist looking for a way to keep beer from going sour. And instead, he stumbled upon pasteurization, and now many liquid products are pasteurized, such as milk, yogurt, and orange juice. This is just, if we were in class, we would talk more about this, but this is just some interesting information on the pasteurization of milk. Pause the video, take a moment to read that. Canning food. These days we have plenty of canned goods, but that was a process that had to be invented too. It was invented by Nicholas Appert. He sought a way to increase the shelf life, to keep fruits and vegetables fresh for longer, without decreasing the flavor or the quality of those fruits and vegetables and other foods. Until now, food was preserved, or we increased the shelf life by salting it or putting it on ice. So in this process, he started out by canning these foods and then boiling these foods to kill off any harmful bacteria. And the food could last for years after the invention of canned goods or canning foods, and when before they could only last a few weeks, tops. The steam engine, another big invention. This idea was advanced, not made by James Watt. And in this process, or in the steam engine, it works from water being heated, usually from coal burning, and then the steam creates pressure power. So the steam engine was created or put into the steamboat, which was invented by Robert Fulton. This greatly cut down travel time because now I don't have to depend on sails and people actually rowing these boats. Now I got some steam power that can power my boat across oceans and rivers. And again, this connected the east to the expanding west. The steam engine was also put into the steam locomotive, or as you can see, train. And this allowed messages and people to be sent and received via long distances, and this connected the east to the expanding west. American progress. So, factories we talked about yesterday. Today we talked about labor unions and how these unions came about and what they were trying to accomplish with these unions. Feel free. Again, these are brief videos. I'm not diving the most into them, just bringing up some points. And if you want to know more about them, you can look into them for yourself. We all know how to use Google. So we talked about labor unions, and then we moved into inventions. These weren't the only items that were invented during this time, but there are plenty of other interesting items that were invented during the Industrial Revolution. Take a few moments if it interests you, and research some. And if you want to send them to me, I'm interested. You can shoot them to me on Edsby. Have a good rest of your day, guys.